There are lenses that on paper are everything you can possibly ask, everything you were looking for, but then in real life, in reality, they kind of disappoint you, despite having no glaring flaws and no visible issues that you can point to. And for me, the brand new Sigma 15mm f1.4 DC is one of those lenses, and in this video I want to tell you why. From a physical standpoint, the lens is super small, super compact, and super lightweight. You're seeing it on my X-E5 over here. The lens doesn't make the overall package big, it doesn't make it front heavy. The lens weighs only 225 grams, so it's basically nothing for a lens built like that, and built also having an f1.4 aperture, which is a huge addition for a wide angle like this, because it allows you to play with depth of field and stuff like that. And so overall, you get a very well-built lens with also the aperture ring, which together with the 12mm is the first time that Sigma puts this type of feature in a DC lens, in a contemporary lens. Realistically, we can expect that any other contemporary lens is going to have that from now on, but that is just speculation. But besides that, the lens is built really well. It's made of high quality plastics, but it's also weather sealed to some extent. It's got a gasket at the lens mount, so you can't really complain about what Sigma is giving you in such a small, lightweight and affordable package, because we can't forget that this lens comes at between $500 and $600 or euros. So it's affordable, it's compact, it's lightweight, it's got an aperture ring, it's f1.4. There's not much more you can ask, especially because, again, on a small camera like this, like the X-E5, everything is super well balanced. So no complaints from that standpoint. Now, I'll be honest, my preferred focal length is an actual 28mm equivalent. So on Fujifilm, it would be an 18mm lens. And Fujifilm has a spectacular 18mm f1.4. You're going to see my pretty old review of that lens over here. I had that lens for years. I love that lens to death. And from an image quality standpoint, we're going to talk about that later, that lens was magic. But having moved towards smaller cameras like the X-E5, that lens is much bigger and heavier than what this 50mm from Sigma is. And so for me, it made more sense to get rid of the 18mm despite feeling the pain of doing that and get this lens over here just because of size and weight. However, this lens has a lot of competition, not only from Fujifilm. There's also competition from other brands, but we're going to talk about that later in this video. For what concerns my type of use with this lens, I use this lens as my daily carry, as my daily lens. So I didn't put it through professional shooting or anything like that, because I don't do that with Fujifilm anymore. But it was my lens for hikes. It was my lens when I was going around shooting cities or whatever. And I liked everything that I was getting out of this lens. From an image quality standpoint, this lens is clinical. It's the definition that gets assigned to a lot of lenses nowadays, but that's exactly what it is. It's a lens that is sharp in the center, wide open. The corners aren't as sharp as the center until you get to f5.6, where they get really sharp, although not as sharp as the center. But the center is so sharp that you don't have to stop down unless you need the corners to be sharper or you need more depth of field. That's the only reason. If you stop it down, the improvement is so negligible that even on a 40 megapixel sensor, it's basically a non-existing factor. So very good lens when it comes to the sharpness, especially in the center. And if you consider how small it is, it's a great, great achievement. The colors are nice. There's some vignetting that you see when it's wide open, but it goes away already when you get to f2.8. So a very good performance out of that as well. I mean, sometimes you need to stop it down 4 stops to get rid of vignetting. With this lens, you don't have to worry about that. Fringing and ghosting are mostly well controlled, although this is not as good as a Sigma art lens like the 35 that I reviewed over here, that lens has basically no chromatic aberration. This one shows some, but you need to look for it. And overall, when you look at the picture in its entirety, it's never going to be distracting and it's never going to call the viewer's attention. So you shouldn't be worried about that at all. When it comes to the bokeh is smoother than I expected because it's still a wide-angle lens. So you should not expect the creamiest of the bokeh to begin with. But this lens shows a very good bokeh even if you stop it down. It's good when it's wide open, but even if you stop it down, you don't see stuff getting harsher or becoming unpleasing to the eye. And this is something very good that I really appreciated because it allows you to stop it down if you want a little bit more depth of field. Let's just say you're shooting very close, you need a little bit more depth of field, but you don't have to sacrifice the quality of the bokeh. And so, all in all, when it comes to image quality, there isn't much to complain about this lens. There's actually nothing to complain about this lens because it's a correct lens. It gets you good image quality. It doesn't have any glaring issue. You may point at minor things, but those are not going to ruin your photo. The only thing is this lens is kind of flat. It gets you a technically good image, but that good image doesn't speak to your soul. I know it's philosophical, but I'm trying to explain what I mean by that. When it comes to autofocus, this lens is really good. The autofocusing motors are really good. However, when it comes to the Fujifilm ecosystem, this lens is going to be as good as the camera that you're using it with. I believe in Sony, it's going to be better. We all know that Fujifilm has improvements to make in the autofocusing system. This lens is not going to be the reason why you miss focus. If anything, if you miss focus, it's going to be the camera. I'll be honest though, when it comes to shooting still in AFS, so autofocus single, I didn't miss many. I didn't miss any. Of course, when it comes to autofocus continuous, that's where Fujifilm struggles, and so it's not the lens's fault, it's the camera's fault. Even when it comes to video, the lens shows pretty good autofocus, although not perfect. And again, this is mostly entirely due to the Fujifilm's autofocusing system. I'm testing other lenses, other new lenses that I'm trying for Fuji. You will see those later between August and September. I'm having the same issues. The camera does relatively good, but sometimes it throws the lens completely off, regardless of the brand of the lens. And so I can't really fault the lens for missing autofocus on video way more than it does with pictures, because it can keep up, but sometimes the camera can't just follow a subject as good as other brands do. But again, be reassured that it's not the lens. If tomorrow Fujifilm comes with the best autofocusing system in the world, this lens is not going to stop you from experiencing that great autofocusing system. It's just that it's not there just yet. And you're seeing that sometimes there's a little bit of hunting when the camera is looking for focus, and that is not the lens's fault. Regardless of the brand, all the lenses are doing that, so it's obviously the camera's fault. While when it comes to video, you need to remember that, like the vast majority of primes available for any system right now, this lens is not stabilized, so you need to rely on the stabilization of the camera. And the one thing you need to remember is that there's a bit of focus breathing with this lens. It's not dramatic, it's not the end of the world. I wouldn't be worried about it, but you need to know. And so, in conclusion, this lens is compact, lightweight, well-built, f1.4 with an aperture ring, very good image quality, very good bokeh, everything you can possibly ask for a lens with a lens, it's in this lens. And yet, this lens is in a tough spot when it comes to comparing it with the competition. If we're looking at the Fujifilm ecosystem, forget the 16 f1.4, that is an older lens, the autofocus is noisy, so let's just say we forget that lens, which also is bigger and heavier than this one. But Let's look at the 18mm f1.4. That lens costs $1,000, so it's basically double the price of this one. But in my opinion, if you're looking for great image quality, if you're looking for the best of the best that you can get in a Fujifilm ecosystem, that lens is still unbeaten. That lens has great autofocus, great build. The image quality is just otherworldly good, and despite being corrected from a visual standpoint, it still has a soul. It's a lens that speaks to your soul way more than a lens like the Sigma 15mm does. So if you're looking for the best of the best, despite being double the price, the Fujifilm 18mm f1.4 is a better choice, in my opinion. On the other hand, if you're on a budget, if you're looking for a character lens, if you're looking for something that is also fun to use, there's the Viltrox 15mm f1.7, a review that you will find over here. I reviewed that lens a year ago or two, I don't recall. That lens, for the price, is just incredibly good. Yes, it's 1.7, not 1.4, so you're leaving half a stop on the table. And yes, it's not built as good as the Sigma, and it doesn't have an aperture ring. But for basically half the price of the Sigma, that lens gets you very good image quality and some character that this lens doesn't have. So if you're not looking for something really clinical, that lens, in my opinion, is a better buy. Again, half the cost, a little bit more fun, honestly. So when it comes to this lens, and if you're on Sony, let's just say you're using Sony, Sony has a direct competitor to this because Sony has its own 15mm f1.4. It's a lens that I used for a few months. It's a lens that, very much like this one, is kind of clinical, but in my opinion is a little bit better. But yes, it costs more, so you get a similar look. Maybe in Sony, this Sigma has a little bit more reasons to exist if you're looking for a clinical look. But again, even in Sony, if you're on a budget, there's the Viltrox 15mm f1.7. And so in my opinion, this lens makes sense only for a specific demographic of people. It's people that are looking for an f1.4 wide-angle lens with an aperture ring that needs to be compact and lightweight, and they want a very clinical-looking lens at the $500 mark. If that's you, this lens is going to make you super happy. But if you're looking for character, either the lower-end Viltrox 15mm f1.7 or the higher-end Fujifilm 18mm f1.4, both of those lenses are going to make you happier depending on the budget that you have, just because they give you more character. Now, I hope this video covered all the potential use case for this lens and what you can get out of this lens. Let me know in the comments below if I forgot to mention anything that you were interested in. And let me know in the comments below if you are looking for a lens like this. If you have any doubts, let me know. Also, help me grow this channel by giving me a like, giving me some hype, and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because I am putting a lot of effort into this channel, and that's your way to say thank you and to help me in my journey throughout the YouTube algorithm odyssey. Thank you guys, that was it. Ciao, and I'll see you in the next one.